So one of the biggest issues that I see with people and diets is that a lot of times they hide behind the shield of their diet. I'm doing the keto diet or I'm doing the vegan diet. So it really doesn't matter that I'm not sleeping much, or it really doesn't matter that my digestion feels like crap because I'm doing this healthy diet right now. So that in turn, it makes me healthy. It means I'm healthy right now. And I see a lot of people falling into these types of traps. I fell into it when I was a bodybuilder and I was experiencing symptoms of ulcerative colitis, but I kept downing whey protein shakes, even though they were making me feel awful and they were causing bouts of diarrhea. And I see people falling into this with the ketogenic diet. And one of the biggest things I see them falling into is this idea that they need less sleep than other mere mortals, right? Everybody else in the world needs 8 hours of sleep except for them. And I've been one of these people. There was a time, I'd say for about a year maybe, where I was surviving on about 4 hours of sleep. I think I've even come on here and said, you know what, I don't need as much sleep as other people. And what that is my thick head, my dumb skull, trying to rationalize what was really a lack of sleep and sleep deprivation. And the truth is, regardless of whether or not you think you need much sleep, it can catch up with you, and it definitely caught up with me. It might not be that you're tired throughout the day. It might not be that you feel fatigued. But what started happening with me was I started getting random injuries. A rolled ankle here, a pulled hamstring there. I would start to feel a little bit of anxiety at certain points in the day, feeling like, I couldn't slow my heartbeat down, feeling like I couldn't really couldn't get away from the stress, right? And it wasn't like high levels of stress. I wasn't constantly jittery or constantly worrying about things, but it was levels of anxiety that were enough to disrupt my work and disrupt my life. And eventually I started getting low levels of depression. And what I realized was that my seemingly lack of a need for sleep and my pig-headedness and my human fault of thinking that I was more than human because of the ketogenic diet, that caught up with me. And I realized that I really did need more sleep. I needed the same amount of sleep as other human beings. So the question comes up, what happens if you don't feel like you can get sleep while you're on the ketogenic diet? What if you have problems falling asleep? And a lot of people think about, a lot of people deal with the inability to get to sleep at normal time periods when they're on low carbohydrate diets. And this happens for a few different reasons. I'm going to go into them in this video. At the end of this video, I'm going to tell you how you can get a written article that goes through each of these tips in detail. And you can go to my website, you can get it, and you'll be able to have all this stuff for reference. But what are these things that keep you from sleeping, and how can you solve them? So number one is hydration, right? Namely a lack of hydration. When you go onto a very low carbohydrate diet and you pull your carbohydrates back, you begin to deplete glycogen in your muscles. And inside your muscles, this is why a lot of times people feel like they lose their pump when they go low carb, because you don't have that water to expand the cells. When you lose glycogen, for every gram of glycogen you lose, you actually lose about 3 grams of water. So it's extremely important that you stay hydrated on the ketogenic diet. And being chronically dehydrated can actually severely disrupt your sleep patterns. It can inhibit the uptake of melatonin, which is really important for allowing you to get to sleep and to stay asleep. The other thing that happens when you get dehydrated and you lose all that water that the glycogen is holding in the cell with, is that you also lose vital minerals. And so it's also really important that you consume salt. I put a pinch of salt in every liter of water I drink, and I also put salt on all of my food. And from time to time, I'll actually put some salt on my tongue throughout the day. And a lot, one of the things that was happening to me was I felt like my heart rate was more rapid. And when I started consuming salt, this actually started to slow things down a little bit, helped me to calm down, and it definitely helps me to get to sleep a lot better. It also helps me to stay hydrated. So I definitely recommend consuming some good natural sea salt in order to replenish those minerals and replenish those electrolytes. In addition to that, one really vital mineral that you'll lose rapidly and that will deplete rapidly along with your glycogen is magnesium. Magnesium is extremely important. It's responsible for over 300 different reactions around the human body. It's really important for fighting total body chronic inflammation, and it's also important for helping you to get to sleep. And so I definitely recommend supplementing with between 400 and 500 milligrams of magnesium glycinate before you head off to bed. And that's really, really important for helping you induce sleep. Another really big thing is making sure that you're getting copious amounts of omega-3s, right? So omega-3s are really important for fighting inflammation. They're also really important for your brain, right? As much of a third of the dry weight of your brain is actually made up of DHA, docosahexaenoic acid. Sue me if I pronounce that wrong. Go ahead, sue me. I might have pronounced it wrong. I'm sorry. But DHA is really important for keeping your brain functioning. And one of the very important elements of your brain is helping to produce hormones like growth hormone and also melatonin. And if you don't have enough in your diet, in your body, aside from all the other fat that you're taking in, it can really inhibit and disrupt your sleep patterns. The final one is one that you might actually be really surprised at, and that is that you should actually consume some carbohydrates. Now, why is this important? Well, number one, it's because insulin and cortisol, they're antagonistic with each other, right? And so when you're on a very low carbohydrate diet, a lot of times cortisol can begin to become unchecked. And so when you're secreting a lot of insulin or just even a little bit of insulin, you're not secreting tons of cortisol. So one of my recommendations is actually for those who are doing a very low carbohydrate or ketogenic diet to consume some carbs. The ketogenic diet is not a zero carb diet. Once you've gone through that initial adaptation phase, there is no need to be on that 80% fat, 10% protein, 10% carbs protocol that people like to quote. You can consume as much as 150 grams of carbohydrates per day, according to Jeff Volek and Stephen Finney, some of the seminal workers in this area, if you've performed enough physical activity throughout the day. Now, you probably don't have to go up as high as 150 grams, but if you consume a good handful of carbs, maybe 50 to 60 grams of carbohydrates from white rice or potato in a meal later in the day after you performed your physical activity, it can actually help you to get to sleep, can help you to bring your hormones back into balance. It can help you to check cortisol. It can also help women with maintaining their thyroid function. So don't go super low carb crazy. Understand that once you've adapted, having some carbs in your diet could be useful, and it's not going to affect your state of ketosis as long as you're doing adequate exercise. So make sure you're getting a little bit of carbohydrates every day. Now, I go into this extensively in my course, Warrior Keto. I'm also putting this down in writing on a special guide that I've created. So head over to the link below if you're not on my website, if you're watching me on YouTube, or if you're on my website, just click on the link below on the web page here, and you'll be able to get that free guide that I've created, and that can definitely help you to get to sleep. If you have any questions for me, just put them in the comments below. I'm always happy to answer them, and I'll be back at you very soon with a new and awesome video.